You see, when I was a young man, I had two fathers. One was highly educated, held a PhD, worked for the government, and believed in job security. The other never finished high school, but he built businesses, invested in assets, and taught me how money really works. The difference between them wasn't just education, it was mindset. One said, go to school, get a good job, and play it safe. The other said, learn how to make money work for you. And that one idea changed my life forever. Most people think wealth begins with money, but it doesn't. It begins with how you think about money. You could give $1 million to someone with a poor mindset, and they'd lose it in a year. But give the same amount to someone with the right psychology, and they'd double it in half the time. In 2025, the world is shifting faster than ever. AI, automation, inflation, digital currencies, everything is changing. And if your mindset doesn't change with it, you'll be left behind. That's why today, I want to share with you 6 powerful lessons about mindset, psychology, and wealth, lessons that the rich live by, and that anyone can apply to transform their financial life. Because wealth isn't built with your hands, it's built with your mind. When I was 9 years old, I asked my rich dad a simple question that changed the course of my life. I said, "Rich Dad, how can I make more money?" He looked at me, smiled, and said, "Robert, that's the wrong question. Don't work for money. Make money work for you." At that time, I didn't understand what he meant. Like most kids, I thought money was something you earned by working harder or longer. My poor dad, the educated one, always said, "Go to school, get good grades, and find a secure job." He believed the key to success was to climb the corporate ladder. But my rich dad taught me something entirely different. He said if you spend your life working for money, you'll always be someone else's employee. But if you learn how to make money work for you, you can own the ladder. That one lesson became my foundation. Because most people today are trapped in what I call the rat race, they wake up, go to work, get paid, pay bills, and repeat. They think a higher salary will set them free, but all it really does is increase their expenses. The more they earn, the more they spend. They buy bigger houses, nicer cars, and more liabilities, things that take money out of their pocket every month. The rich think differently. They focus on assets, investments that put money in their pocket, whether they work or not. Things like real estate, businesses, stocks, royalties, or intellectual property. These are money-making machines. Once you build them, they continue to generate income even while you sleep. The secret isn't in working harder, it's in working smarter. It's about shifting from an employee mindset to an investor mindset. Employees say, "I can't afford that." Investors ask, "How can I afford that?" One statement shuts down the brain, the other activates creativity and possibility. Let me give you an example. When I was younger, I wanted to buy a Porsche. My poor dad said, "You can't afford it." My rich dad said, "Don't buy it, build an asset that will pay for it." So instead of spending money, I invested in a small real estate deal. The cash flow from that investment eventually paid for the Porsche, and the car became a reward from my assets, not a burden from my paycheck. That's the mindset of the rich. They understand that money is not the goal, freedom is. Money is just a tool, a servant that works 24 hours a day if you give it the right job. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. If you don't learn how to make money work for you, you'll spend your life working for those who did. So, if you want to change your life in 2025 and beyond, start asking yourself new questions. Stop saying, "I need more money." Start asking, How can I make my money multiply? Invest in your education, learn about assets, study cash flow, and understand how the rich think. Because the real difference between the rich and the poor isn't found in their wallets, it's found in their mindset. My rich dad used to say, your mind is either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. At first, I didn't fully understand what he meant, but as I got older, I saw how true it was not just in money, but in every part of life. See, most people think wealth starts with money. But that's not true. Wealth starts with how you think about money, because before you can have something in your hands, you must first create it in your mind. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, a young man came to me after one of my seminars. He said, "Robert, I've read your books. I've watched your videos, but I just can't seem to make money. Every time I save, something happens, my car breaks down, I lose my job, or an emergency wipes my account clean." I looked at him and said, "That's because you're playing the wrong game. You're trying to fix your wallet without fixing your mindset. You see, if your mind is programmed to lose, no amount of money can save you. And if your mind is programmed to win, no amount of failure can stop you." Most people have been trained to think small. School teaches you to memorize facts, not to think creatively. Society teaches you to play it safe, not to take risks. And your environment teaches you that money is scarce, that you have to fight for it, save it, and never lose it. But rich people know that money flows. It's energy. It moves toward those who understand it and away from those who fear it. That's why I always say, the first investment you should ever make isn't in real estate or stocks. It's in your mind, because your mind controls every financial decision you'll ever make. When my poor dad faced financial problems, his mindset was, "I can't afford it." That one phrase became his truth. It shut down his creativity, his resourcefulness, and his confidence. But my rich dad would say, "How can I afford it?" That small shift opened up possibilities, new ideas, new strategies, and new opportunities. Your words shape your reality. Your beliefs shape your behavior, and your behavior shapes your results. If you believe money is evil, you'll subconsciously push it away. If you believe rich people are greedy, you'll never want to become one. But if you believe money is a tool, something that amplifies who you are, then you'll use it wisely to create freedom, security, and impact. Your mindset is like the operating system of your financial life. If it's outdated, everything you try to build on top of it will crash. But when you upgrade your mindset, when you start to think like the rich, your entire financial reality starts to shift. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You start to ask better questions, and better questions always lead to better results. So here's what I tell people. Don't chase money, chase mastery. Don't focus on earning more, focus on thinking better. Because when your mindset expands, your income will follow. Remember this, money will only grow to the extent that you do. Train your mind, and money will find its way to you. When I was a kid, I used to wonder why my poor dad, a man with a PhD, struggled with money, while my rich dad, who never finished high school, became a millionaire. It didn't make sense to me. My poor dad worked hard, followed the rules, and did everything right. But month after month he was broke. So one day I asked my rich dad, "How is it that you make so much money, even though you didn't go to college?" He smiled and said something I'll never forget. "Because schools teach you how to work for money, Robert, not how money works." That's when I realized something powerful. The world is full of educated people who are financially blind. They know how to earn money, but not how to manage it. grow it, or protect it. They study math, science, and history, but not financial literacy, the one subject that determines how free or trapped you'll be for the rest of your life. Most people today are not struggling because they're lazy. They're struggling because they're financially uneducated. They work for money without understanding the rules of the game. And when you don't know the rules, you'll always lose no matter how hard you try. Think about it. We spend over a decade in school learning how to get a job, but not a single class on how to build wealth. We're told to save money, but no one explains how inflation eats away at its value. We're told debt is bad, but no one teaches us how to use debt to create cash flow. We're told to buy a house, but no one tells us it's often a liability, not an asset. That's why I say financial education isn't just important, it's freedom. Because the moment you understand how money works, you stop being afraid of it. You stop being controlled by your job, your bills, and your circumstances. You begin to see money as a game. And when you know the rules, you can play to win. Rich Dad would say, if you want to be rich, learn the difference between an asset and a liability, and then buy assets. It's that simple. But simple doesn't mean easy, because most people don't take the time to learn. They want quick results, not lasting knowledge. Here's the truth. In today's world, money doesn't go to the hardest worker. It goes to the smartest learner. Those who take the time to study cash flow, investing, taxes, real estate, and business, they gain the power to create wealth out of thin air. The best part, financial education never expires. Once you learn it, you can use it for life, through recessions, inflation, and even technological change. In 2025, we live in a world where information is everywhere. You don't need permission to become financially educated anymore. The tools are in your hands: books, videos, courses, mentors. The only question is, will you use them? Because if you don't educate yourself about money, someone else will use your lack of education to make money off you. So stop working just for a paycheck. Start working for knowledge. Because once you master financial education, you'll never have to worry about money again, not because you have a lot of it, but because you finally understand it. My rich dad once told me, "Robert, money doesn't make you rich. How you handle your emotions does." At first, I didn't understand what emotions had to do with money, but as I grew older, I saw exactly what he meant. Fear and greed are the two most powerful emotions in the world of money. They control almost every financial decision people make, and most of the time, they don't even realize it. Let's start with fear. When people say, "I need a secure job," what they really mean is, "I'm afraid of being broke, afraid of losing everything, afraid of the unknown." That fear drives people to trade their time for a paycheck, even if it means sacrificing their dreams. They cling to the illusion of security, not realizing that true security doesn't come from a job. It comes from knowledge and control. My poor dad worked hard his whole life because of that fear. He wanted stability, not freedom. Every time an opportunity came his way, he would say, "That's too risky." Rich Dad, on the other hand, used fear differently. He said, "Fear is a signal, not a stop sign. When you feel it, don't run, learn." That's the difference between the rich and everyone else. The rich feel fear just like everyone, but instead of letting it paralyze them, they use it as fuel to grow smarter, stronger, and more courageous. Now let's talk about greed, the flip side of fear. Greed is what makes people chase quick profits, gamble their savings, or jump into something because it looks shiny and exciting. They see others making money and say, "I want that too." But greed blinds you. It makes you emotional. It pushes you to make impulsive choices, and emotional decisions rarely lead to financial success. I've seen people buy stocks, cryptocurrencies, or properties not because they understand them, but because they're afraid of missing out. And when the market turns, fear takes over again. They panic, sell low, and lose everything. That's the emotional roller coaster most people live on, driven by fear when they lose and by greed when they win. My rich dad used to say, if you can't control your emotions, you can't control your money. Wealthy people learn to stay calm when everyone else is panicking. They see opportunity where others see disaster. They're not ruled by fear or greed. They're guided by knowledge, patience, and discipline. Here's the truth. Emotions aren't bad. They're natural. Fear protects you from danger. Greed motivates you to grow. But when you let them make decisions for you, they become your master. And money, like any powerful force, only obeys those who have mastered themselves. So, the next time you feel afraid to take a risk, don't say, I can't. Ask yourself, what can I learn? And the next time something looks like easy money, pause and ask, do I really understand this? In the world of wealth, calm minds create rich results. Remember this, fear keeps the poor poor, greed keeps the foolish broke, but emotional intelligence, the ability to think clearly when everyone else is emotional, that's what builds lasting wealth. My rich dad once told me, if you want to be rich, it's simple, just know the difference between an asset and a liability and buy assets. At that time, I was a young boy and I thought he was joking. I said, that's it, that's how you get rich. He smiled and said, most people don't get rich because they don't know the difference between the two. That statement stayed with me for the rest of my life. Because what sounds simple in theory is exactly what separates the rich from the poor. Let me break it down the way my rich dad did. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. It's not about how it looks or feels, it's about what it does to your cash flow. The problem is, most people confuse liabilities for assets. They buy a big house and call it an investment. They buy a new car and call it success. But every month, those things pull money out of their pockets. Mortgage payments, insurance, maintenance, taxes. And yet they proudly say, this is my biggest asset. The rich know better. They understand that your house is not an asset unless it's paying you. An asset could be a rental property that brings you income every month. It could be a business that runs without you. It could be a stock, a royalty, or even a digital product that earns while you sleep. My rich dad built his wealth by collecting assets, not things. Every dollar he earned had a job to buy or build something that would earn more dollars. He would say, don't spend your money, send it to work. My poor dad, on the other hand, believed in working hard, saving, and buying nice things. He'd get a raise, then upgrade his lifestyle. New car, bigger home, better vacation, and every month, his expenses grew faster than his income. He was trapped in the rat race, running faster just to stay in the same place. That's the reality for millions of people today. They think they're moving forward, but financially they're stuck because their money flows out instead of in. Building assets isn't about being cheap or living like a monk. It's about priorities. It's about using today's income to build tomorrow's freedom. When you buy assets first, those assets can later pay for your luxuries guilt-free and stress-free. For example, I didn't buy my first sports car until my real estate investments were producing enough monthly cash flow to cover it. The car became a reward from my assets, not a liability draining my income. That's the mindset of the rich. They don't work harder for money, they make money work harder for them. They don't chase status, they build systems. They don't buy liabilities first, they build assets first. So, here's my challenge to you. Take a look at your life and ask yourself, are the things I'm buying putting money into my pocket or taking it out? Start small if you have to. Read, learn, and invest in things that grow. It could be a rental unit, a business idea, a course, or even an online income stream. Because financial freedom doesn't come from owning things, it comes from owning assets that buy those things for you. Remember, liabilities make you look rich. Assets make you stay rich. My rich dad once told me, the moment you stop learning, your wealth stops growing. At first, I thought he was talking about school, but he laughed and said, no, Robert, school gives you information. Real education gives you transformation. And that's something most people miss. See, the world is changing faster than ever before. Technology, money, business, even the way we think about work. What made you rich yesterday might make you broke tomorrow if you stop learning. When I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the world was still talking about job security, pensions, and 9 to 5 careers. Today, in 2025, those things barely exist. AI is taking over jobs, inflation is eating savings, and digital assets are rewriting the rules of wealth. Yet most people are still playing by the old rules, because they stopped learning. Rich Dad always said, the difference between the poor, the middle class, and the rich is not money. It's how fast they adapt. The poor resist change. They fear it, the middle class tolerate it. They complain, then adjust slowly, but the rich study it, embrace it, and profit from it. When something new happens, a market crash, a new technology, a global shift, the rich don't panic. They get curious. They ask, where's the opportunity here? That's what I did during every major crisis. In 2008, when real estate prices crashed, most people were terrified. They sold everything. But I saw the opportunity. I bought more properties at record low prices. Years later, those same properties multiplied my wealth. That's the power of learning and adapting. But let's be clear, learning doesn't mean collecting information. It means taking action, failing, adjusting, and trying again. Real learning comes from doing. Rich Dad used to tell me, school tests you before you learn the lesson. Life teaches you the lesson after you fail the test. The poor see failure as the end. The rich see failure as feedback. Every mistake, every loss, every setback, it's part of your financial education. Each one teaches you something no book can. In today's world, the most valuable skill you can have isn't coding, trading, or marketing. It's the ability to learn fast, unlearn faster, and relearn continuously. That's how you stay ahead. That's how you stay free. So if you want to grow your wealth in this new age, become a lifelong student. Read every day, learn from mentors, study trends, watch how money moves. Don't just adapt to the future, anticipate it. When I meet young people today, I tell them, don't chase comfort, chase change, because comfort keeps you stuck. Change keeps you alive. Remember, money doesn't disappear, it just moves. It flows from those who resist learning to those who embrace it. So keep evolving, keep upgrading your mindset, your skills, and your financial intelligence. Because wealth isn't a destination, it's a process of becoming smarter every single day. And the more you grow, the more your money will too. When I look back at everything my rich dad taught me, it all comes down to one simple truth. Wealth doesn't start in your bank account, it starts in your mind. Most people spend their lives chasing money, but the rich spend their lives mastering mindset, psychology, and financial education. That's the real game. That's the difference between working for money and making money work for you. We talked about 6 powerful lessons, lessons that can change your financial future if you apply them. Don't just work for money. Build systems that make money work for you. Protect your mindset. It's your greatest asset or your greatest liability. Invest in financial education. It's the key to lasting freedom. Control your emotions. Don't let fear or greed make your decisions. Build assets that pay you and not liabilities that drain you. And most importantly, keep learning, adapting, and evolving, because the world is changing faster than ever. If you live by these principles, you won't just survive in this new economy, you'll thrive. Because true wealth isn't measured by how much you earn, but by how much freedom you create for yourself and your family. My poor dad used to say, get a good job and play it safe. My rich dad said, take control, take risks, and make your money work for you. Today, I can tell you with certainty, the second mindset leads to freedom, while the first leads to fear. So, as you move forward in 2025, ask yourself, am I living to earn or am I learning to live free? Because at the end of the day, it's not about money. It's about mindset. It's about education. It's about freedom. And remember, the richest people in the world are not those who have the most money, but those who have mastered the power to create it.